Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Is that loud enough? Good evening and welcome to our primary candidate forum. I want to stress that this is a primary candidate forum. The general election forum will have, I believe it's scheduled for October 9th. So this is primary, and we've got 5 rounds this evening. I want to first of all thank my committee. For those of you I've not met, my name is Ted Davis. I have the honor of being the chairman of the Government Affairs Committee for the Chamber of Commerce. And I want to thank Kelly Butler and Jeanette Laby, who are also key players in our committee. I want to thank the City of Lansing for allowing us to use their space this evening. And I want to thank Eric Price, who is our videographer. His company is Rogue Creative. And then I want to thank my wife, Denny, who is our timekeeper this evening. As I said, we have 5 rounds. We're going to start off with the 2 districts, District 2 and District 3. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for a personal introduction. Then we'll go through the questions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer each question. I've got prepared questions. The candidates have not seen the questions. If we have time for each round, then I'll open up to the floor and take your questions. If we do that, I ask you to please ask questions that all the candidates should answer. So if you just ask it of one candidate, we'd ask you to ask it in such a way that everybody should be commenting on it. So we're going to go, the first round is County District 2. Vicky Kaaz and Vanessa Reed. Vanessa has declined our invitation, so Vicky will be up first.
Good afternoon.
About the timing?
Okay, as Ted said, my name is Vicky Kaaz, and I'm the current representative for the 2nd District of the Board of County Commissioners. What's that?
Move it.
Oh, is that better? I can't. Nope. Then it must not be on. Nope, the light's not on. I'll move down, but that light's on. Thank you, Kelly.
Let me just say before you started, Denny will keep time. You'll see a 1-minute warning, 30 seconds, 10 seconds, and then stop. And you'll hear a ring for that.
Okay, thank you. For those who don't know me, I moved to Leavenworth, actually Fort Leavenworth in 1974 with my parents. I graduated from Leavenworth High School and then the University of St. Mary. I'm married to Stephen Kaaz, and I have 2 adult children and 4 grandchildren. My husband family has owned and operated a construction company in Leavenworth for about 100 years. However, my entire career path has been dedicated to human service organizations. 6 years ago, when I ran for the county commission and was subsequently elected to serve our county, I did so without fully appreciating the role and responsibilities of our Board of County Commissioners, but I do now. It's quite something. County Commissioners have 2 separate and distinct roles when serving our communities. The first is as an agent of the state and federal government for the traditional government functions, including quasi-judicial, legislative, and executive responsibilities. The second is more of like a municipality by providing broader government action. For the past 6 years, I have shared the responsibility with my fellow colleagues for setting the budget, establishing policy, overseeing elections, ensuring public health, safety and welfare matters, fence viewing, yes, there's such a thing, and for providing community infrastructure like roads, bridges, and utilities needed to support daily life. Additionally, increased state mandates and community demands and expectations have allowed me the opportunity to participate in decisions regarding other services such as economic development, comprehensive planning, zoning, environmental protection, mental health services, and senior citizens programs. As a community commissioner, I have also been asked to serve on various regional boards as part of my official duties. I am well aware of the time and commitment and dedication required to fulfill the role of a county commissioner and hope the voters will allow me the privilege of serving an additional term. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Vicki, our first question. There's been criticism of the county's failure to follow its strategic plan or plans. So my question, what will be your role in creating better plans for the county,
Well, strategic.
taking into account the diverse demands of our county, and then enacting and being accountable for implementing the plans?
Okay, first of all, it's not really a strategic plan, it's a comprehensive plan. And it is more of a guidance for the Board of County Commissioners. And I realize that there have been weaknesses within the plan, but prior to our coming in, or my coming in 6 years ago, we had not updated our comprehensive plan for almost 2 decades. And so it was quite an undertaking to have even taken on developing a new comprehensive plan. And at that time, we did our best to get as many people involved and to come and using all the resources available to us to get people to come together and decide what we wanted to have in our comprehensive plan and what our priorities needed to be. The Board of County Commissioners did their very best and have done our best to try to implement that plan. And then we realized there was a weakness, and that was that we had not kind of aligned it with some of the zoning requirements and some of the other things. And so what we have done is taken the time to try to get those aligned. There's still work to be done, and I understand there's work to be done, but we are doing our very best, and we try our best to follow policy, which was kind of a weakness of the commission in the past. We didn't have really strong policies, and we've developed much more strength in our policies and procedures for both planning and zoning and our public works department. And so it just takes time. All of the things in implementing the comprehensive plan, we review it annually, and during that time, we welcome public input. And most of our comprehensive plan actually is adopted, and then we adopt following that by our planning and zoning board. And so they have worked diligently to try to improve the processes, and we know that any process can be better, and we hope that over time we will have more opportunities to improve.
All right, thank you. Our second question, how will you fix what some county citizens see as a tax and spend county commission?
Well, I don't believe we have a tax and spend county commission. We take our budgeting extremely seriously, and I think that what has happened is over time, so many commissioners in the past have done well, first of all, we have a limited income that comes in via the property tax uses. I mean, that's what we have to count on to fund the county. I don't believe that it's tax and spend. We look at our budget. We ask our employees and our department heads to restrict their budget to the greatest extent possible, but to some extent, we have cut our own throats in doing so, so that we have not had the level of investment that we need in some of the things. For example, right now, our county courthouse is kind of falling down around us. I don't know if you've heard, but it is. And that is due to delayed maintenance or deferred maintenance, however you want to put it, because we made decisions not to spend money in the past. We're going to spend a great deal more money in the future to fix what is broken there. And so we're not a tax and spend county commission. We take our role very seriously, and we try to do our very best to make sure that we provide the services that are necessary to do our job and to serve our community.
Thank you. Third question. Retaining good people and the county employees is a tremendous challenge.
Yes.
So how will you address this issue?
Well, that's part of when we're talking about tax and spend. Well, one of the things that we have to do as county commissioners is invest in our workforce. And we have an amazing group of people who work for the county, but often we're losing them at a pretty rapid rate because we're losing them to the public sector or to other municipalities that are spending more money to pay them. For example, our law enforcement, we're losing. Our public works department, we're losing. We are almost like a training ground for these individuals. Right now, our EMT, we are having a shortage of EMTs right now because they're leaving us to take jobs where they can make more money. So we have to bring those up to a level where we can keep and retain these employees, and it's been very difficult to do if we don't increase the pay that we're giving our employees or our cut benefits, either one. The county attorney's office is losing their attorneys to other jurisdictions because they can make more money going someplace else. And every time you lose an employee, not only have you lost that person, but it takes time to fill that position, and then it takes time to bring those individuals up to speed. So what we're doing is we're spending more money than we're investing, or our investments we're losing. We're losing that battle. So what we have done over the past 6 years is we have begun to very slowly bring up the pay scale and what we're paying our employees to a level that we can compete. And oftentimes, unfortunately, for example, with the county attorney's office, with the EMS, the other jurisdictions around us, they raise the pay that they can pay those individuals, and then we lose those people who have been trained and brought on by the county to another area. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to open it up to your questions. I think we'll have enough time for probably 2 or 3. Yes, sir.
Are you a Republican?
Yes, I am, sir.
I've never seen you at a town hall, and rumor is you don't want to go to one to be associated with the people. Is that true?
It is not true that I don't want to associate with the people in the Republican Party. Years ago, I was asked by one of the leaders of the Republican Party not to be at those meetings because I wasn't welcome. Rather than not feeling welcome, I chose to stay at home because I do have a family and I do have other things that I can do, and I have other committees and commitments that I can dedicate myself to. So that is not true. I am a Republican. I have been a Republican since 1976.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I don't have to be at a meeting in order to be a Republican.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you. Next
I'm open. I have my cell phone number on my business cards. People can make contact with me at any time. I'm listed on the website. My contact information is there, and my business cards sit out at all times.
In the back, sir.
How has the loss of LABTR funds affected the county?
It's had a tremendous impact on the county.
Did everybody hear the question? The
Oh,
question
how has the local ad valorem tax relief, the absence of that fund, impacted the county? It's had a tremendous impact on the county. This past year, the loss of that revenue cost the taxpayers of Leavenworth County over $4 million that could have been used to lower your taxes. That's sales tax money that is paid into by the people of Leavenworth County and is collected and taken to the state. They have it, but they have chosen annually not to return it to the citizens of Leavenworth County and to use it for other purposes, sometimes to spend on programs and services in western Kansas, for example. So it has been very difficult for the county commissioners to keep the mill low, flat, or to lower it when we are not receiving those funds, and we deserve to have those funds, and our citizens deserve to have those funds. And in this last session, at the very end, it was decided just to completely eliminate the law that was established for us to receive those funds. It's been withheld for the past 20 years. I would say that we figure that to date, the citizens of Leavenworth County, by not receiving those funds back into the county, have lost in excess of $26 million that could have been used for services, for roads, to lower your taxes, and our legislators have made a conscious decision not to return it to the communities.
Thank you. Next question. Yes, sir.
So part of the issue we have with residential property taxes is the fact that we have no economic or limited economic development. And part of that is because I feel that the county commission isn't pushing to make the county more business friendly. From your perspective, how can we increase economic development in the county and lower property taxes?
Well, I have been very active in attending and participating in the local organization that is dedicated to trying to bring in businesses to the community. I support businesses. As I said earlier, my family has a business that's been an organization that's been in business for over 100 years in Leavenworth County. So I think that I really do know how much we need business and industry in Leavenworth County. It's very difficult to attract businesses because of some of the things that we cannot give and provide. I don't consider us to be not business friendly personally. I just don't believe that to be true. I think that there have been discussions and debates and disagreements within the Board of County Commissioners as to how that happens, but that's good. That's us having debates and not always agreeing. What would I say? I say that we need to continue down the road of bringing businesses in, but we also have to understand that a lot of that is up to our local businesses, the local development, area development organizations and the Port Authority to bring those businesses in partnership with the county.
One question left. Anything else? Vicky, thank you very much. Appreciate your participation. All right.
You don't want me to close? I'm done? Yay.
If I could have the three candidates for District 3, Vernon Fields, Willie Dove, and David Breuer. I hope I pronounced that right. Good evening, gentlemen, and thank you so much for coming this evening.
Good evening.
We'll start with your 2-minute personal introduction. And David, would you start us, please?
Thank you. My name is David Breuer. I live in Basehor, Kansas, which is in District 3. I've lived there all my life. I'm one of 7 sons. I've been married for 50 years to my lovely wife, Cheryl. So certainly that's about it on that part up there, but let's say so.
Okay, thank you so much.
Short.
Vernon, would you go second, please?
There you go.
My name is Vernon Fields, and I've lived in Basehor for the last 24 years. When the Department of Justice transferred me from the Supermax in Colorado, the Supermax Federal Prison, to Kansas, I asked someone where I should live, and they said live in the city of Basehor. I knew my office was going to be at 400 State in downtown Kansas City, Kansas, and my wife was going to be assigned to USP Leavenworth. The first person I met when I got to Basehor was his wife. His wife was my real estate agent. Second person I met was him. So we have a real long relationship. Again, my name is Vernon Fields. I'm on the city council of the city of Basehor. Been on the city council for the last 12 years. I have 3 children. All of my children live in Denver. So guess where I'll be going after this meeting? Yes, I have to be there for a wedding on the 13th. So if you don't see me, it's not that I'm missing in action. I am a United States Army veteran, served in the United States Army proudly for many years. I have a PhD in criminal justice. I am a criminologist. And no, I cannot solve crimes in 30 minutes or less. I'm a retired federal law enforcement officer, retired from the Department of Justice. And in the Army, I started off as a medic. The Army sent me back to school to become a registered nurse. As a registered nurse, I provided services to different people. Ended up getting a master's degree in nursing, and I'm just loving what I'm doing.
Is that it?
That's it.
Thank you,
Unless
sir.
you want me to go on, I mean, I can go for that.
I appreciate your succinctness. Willie Dove, would you go?
Thank you very much. Thank you for making this meeting possible, and it's encouraging to see so many people here. What is the most important thing in our minds today is property taxes, 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 and more taxes. Is that a statement that you could agree with? That was required, yes. Thank you. I served in the Kansas legislature for 8 years, and in that time there, you get to find out some things that can and some things that cannot be done. And one of the things that can be done is that you can effectively send someone there that can talk the same language as the Kansas legislators. While I was there, I was elected by my peers to be the chair of a couple of committees. While I was there, I learned some very important things. And that is not just to make friends, but make friends in order to have a win-win situation. My win-win situation is this. I would love to see some of our Kansas elders stop having to leave Kansas to go other places because they cannot afford to stay in their own homes. Their dreams, their aspirations, and their grandchildren are very, very special to them. And they're very special to me because I'm in that same boat. So I would encourage you, if you want to find out more about Willie Dove and what I stand for and how good I can fight. I love a good fight, especially when I'm right. They asked me when I introduced the industrial hemp bill, which is used to make clothing, flooring, tables, and so forth. They said, you'll never get reelected if you do this. I got elected 3 more times, and you finally got the bill passed. And someone who I never thought would ever say this, our present governor, said this bill was only possible because of this guy here, Willie Dove. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our first question, again, some in the county fault the county commission for not adhering to their strategic plan or plans. So the question, what will you be doing to create better plans, taking into account the diverse demands of our county, and then enacting and being accountable for those plans? Willie, would you start, please?
Thank you. One of the things that had happened before COVID was that the county commissioners did have a plan put together to fight the LABTR. And what that means is that we were losing money hand over fist every single year because the Kansas legislature actually made a law to outdo another law. And that would mean that they could take money from our Kansas citizens that the state constitution said the Kansas owed Leavenworth the money. And they made a law to take it back. And that's been happening every single year. Commissioner Vicky was very, very right. That's what's been happening for years and years and years. I would like to see a comprehensive plan that we could put together as commissioners to make this happen the same exact way that the State Board of Education, this is a very strong statement, the State Board of Education, they came out and they sued the state to get the money back. Is that what happened? They didn't need the money, but they got the money. Well, we need that money. And I intend to be an individual that if I'm elected, if you send me there, then I will fight for that money. And if I don't get reelected because I did it, then fine. I'm happy with that. Thank you.
Dave, would you go second, please?
Certainly the comprehensive plan is extremely important to the county. It's a way that we need to show where our growth's going to be, obviously industrial parks and businesses and that sort of thing. So it's very important to look at that every year. As she said in her earlier, that it was 20 years before they looked at a comprehensive plan. And why was it 20 years before they looked at a comprehensive plan? I can't answer that question. But certainly one of my platforms is plan, budget, budget, budget. You've got a plan, and you've got a plan, and you've got a budget, and you've got a budget. The comprehensive plan is what you want your county to look like and where it's supposed to be. You can't be putting a lot of certain things in certain places, so that's important. I think they did a nice job the first time. They went to a lot of people and did a lot of surveying and tried to see what the people wanted, but certainly they need to continue that, and it's always in progress. It's like quality control. You're never there. Things change and certain things change, so that every year you need to look at that comprehensive plan and make adjustments to it.
Thank you. Vernon.
I served on the Planning Commission, which puts together the comprehensive plan for the city of Basel. Served on that commission for 3 years. We looked at everything. We had some plans that were so detailed to where it's like, really, do we need to have 14 items in this plan? Because we got so deep into it to where we lost focus on what the whole plan was about. As David Breuer had said, it's about how the county, and specifically for the city of Basel, how the city of Basel is going to grow and look like in the future. So I'll bring that experience to to the board in terms of being able to say, hey, been there, done that. Some things work, some things don't. But it is important that we begin to look at that plan every year. When I got on the Planning Commission in 2009, it was 3 or 4 years since the Planning Commission had updated its comp plan. So I started pushing for that. The lack of planning does not constitute an emergency or a problem for somebody else. It constitutes a problem for us because we're not focused, we're not looking at what needs to be done, we're not addressing the cares and the concerns of the citizens. So sometimes you'll find that things are disjointed. You have to have that plan reviewed every year, then it comes up to the council, and the council will go ahead and make approval. Thank you.
Second question. How will you fix what some of the county citizens see as being a tax and spend county commission? David, you start.
Okay.
Well, first of all, one of my platforms is becoming an authority on the budget. And one of the things that you need to do, and just to give you a little experience of what I did, I was elected to 8 years on a school board. On the school board, I was 4 years, I negotiated a union contract with the teachers. You had to look and you had to decide how many people were going to be there. You needed to know the budget inside and out. Another thing up there, I was elected to the Board of Trustees to 1290 and to Topeka, which was in charge of the health and welfare plan and the retirement plan. 4,000 people I was responsible for their health plans. Over 1,000 people I was responsible for their retirement plans. Also, you just have to look at it. One other thing that I was up there is that I was a business guy for 40 years, and I run a construction company. And at that time, as a construction company, there's ups and downs. So when you run a construction company, you need to, when things went bad, you had to figure out what you needed to do. You need to look at the equipment. Are you using your equipment properly? And so that's one of the things up there. Let me see here. I got to look up there. So anyways, and then when you didn't have the jobs, you had to sharpen your pencil. Another thing you had to do is streamline your operation. The one thing about being a business guy is that I didn't have the opportunity to say, oh, let's raise the mill levy because I'm out of money. You can't do that. You gotta be efficient, and you gotta look at and be efficient with that. So that's the one thing, you become a professional and authority on the budget and look on every part of that budget and analyze every part of that budget and see how much you can cut and what you have. They employ 400 people. I'm sure that there's some people that you can need to look at. So that's one thing.
Thank you. Vernon, please.
David Breuer was my mayor for many years. And when we went through the budget cycle, I would ask this question. Can we do more with less? Can we do everything that we're trying to get done with what we currently have? And if so, there's no reason to raise anybody's mill levy. If so, we need to look at decreasing it. One thing that I always remember is this. There are 5 votes on the council that votes on that budget. And oftentimes, I'm the one that's on the opposite side of everybody else. I have a house. I got to pay my bills. I can't just print money. I can't just say, okay, let's raise this up. So no, I don't. And again, the question again that comes with the city is this, and it will be the same question that will come with the county. Can we do everything that we need to do with our current funds? And if the answer comes back yes, which it has been coming back with the questions I asked the city, then there's no reason for us to raise the funds. So I think I answered thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Third question, and Vernon, if you'd start first.
Okay.
Retention of trained county employees is tremendous challenge. Oh, I'm sorry.
Willie boy.
I do that too often.
I didn't wait his time for nothing.
I apologize. Thank you for
Just
catching
kidding, just
that.
kidding.
I apologize. For some reason, I tend to do that. This is not the first time I made that mistake. Please, I
Well,
apologize.
let's say none of us walk on water.
I sink quickly.
Okay.
Please.
Thank you. When my last term within the Kansas House, I was chairman of the agricultural budget. I'm not a farmer. I know nothing about farming, but I do know numbers. And one of the things that was helpful to me was having individuals that could look up the information for me, but I had to give them what information I really wanted. So I had to pay particular attention to some things I had no idea what they meant. So I had several meetings with individuals who said, Willie, this is what this actually means. It didn't mean anything to me because I didn't grow up on a farm. I have no idea what farmers need in order to make things work. But I do know that the numbers, if you can't spend it, then you shouldn't be having it. If it's there just because it's supposed to be there and you don't use it, we can use it for other things. We don't have to spend it just because we actually have the money there. So I learned very, very quickly about the Kansas ag budget, and I was pretty good at bringing those numbers to where individuals could understand it and put it in a comprehensive way to where everyone understood we are not going to spend what we do not have. And a lot of people don't like that because you're cutting into somebody's fund. I'm just happy that it wasn't our Kansas ag farmers. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our third question, and again, Vernon, if you'd start. Retention of trained county employees is a tremendous challenge. How will you address this issue?
Okay, that is something that I addressed about 3 weeks ago with the mayors and other elected officials in Kansas City. We recently lost Paul Kramer from Leavenworth to Shawnee, and it was because of a number of different things, but one was pay. The biggest budget item in any budget is personnel. So while we pay our personnel, and we do study after study after study in the city of Basel to ensure that our employees are getting paid a rate that is comparable to all the other cities around Basel. That means that we sometimes have some of the higher paying staff working in Basel because we're using that money to focus on that. That's what we need. You begin to cut back on funding, cut back on the budget, then we begin to lose things that people rely on, like our police department, like our fire department. It's not ours, but we work with them. So how do I do it? Just keep looking at the budget and say, okay, well, we can cut here, keep this employee here, we can cut here, but I don't want to cut to the bone to where we are losing amenities that you guys have become accustomed to. Thank you.
Thank you. We have time for a couple questions.
Yeah, you got it.
Did I do it again?
Did I do it that good?
Go for it.
I thought we were friends.
I've aged since then. I'm so task focused that once somebody meets that task,
I tell you,
Go ahead.
what if I'm not used to being ignored, especially by my grandchildren. And retaining employees is a very tricky thing. That is, if you're looking just not to give them salaries or dollars. You got to train them from the very beginning, and you got to train them to train others. We're here not for ourselves in this world, and this pertains to almost anything that you live with in life. And what I mean by that is that when I was in the Kansas legislature, I brought young people in all the time and asked them, what is it that you want to do? And who inspired you to do it? And they always had an answer. It was a teacher, it was a policeman, it was a fireman. It was someone that they gave a lot of respect to. And I believe that if we start training from day one, then we can have a more effective personnel within our government as individuals have in the private sector. Because that's how the private sector gets along. They start training from day one. They don't miss a beat, and they continue to do it over and over and over again. That's what happened to me when I was growing up. I started being trained by my uncles, by my stepfather, by my grandfather, who I admired the most. And that's why we have to continue to emphasize more training, more emphasis on the individual themselves, and not put everyone into one giant group. Personnel, it costs a lot to keep personnel, a lot of, and it's not just money, because money doesn't always make the great big difference. If it did make a difference, probably none of us would be sitting here, because money is not all. Money is not all. You gotta have a purpose in getting it done and making and helping individuals get to their goals. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
Way to go.
Please, David.
Hey. Well, certainly that's always an issue, and it's an issue with any company. But I do believe that training is an important part. But actually, job descriptions are extremely important. When you're hiring people, you need to make sure that they understand what they're supposed to do. Let's just start like, show up on time, ready to work. You know, that eliminates a lot of people. And so,
You're right.
but training is extremely important, but they need to know exactly what they're expected to do. And it's just about treating people right. Money is obviously an important issue of it. Health insurance, you know, as a business guy, when I hired the young people, they always wanted to know how much they got paid. After a few years, they wanted to make sure did they have health insurance because they got married. And then the latter part of their career up in there, they wanted to, hey, what's the retirement? And they usually ask those questions, obviously, when it's too late. But anyway, so obviously training's important. Money is important. You just need to have a good work environment, and the Leavenworth County needs to make a good work environment so people enjoy working here in Leavenworth County. It's a good place to raise your children. School districts, it's in there. But it's going to be a problem, and it's always going to be a problem, is retaining good people, especially career people, because career people want to move on. They want to move to a Shawnee. They want to move on to bigger fish to fry, I guess I should say. But anyway, that's that deal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions from the audience? Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm a Republican.
I've heard talk, I don't care who answers it, but I've kind of heard talk in the past about grants, we gotta get that grant money. My problem with that, my question is, if we get grant money, are we getting a bunch of strings attached from federal government or whatnot, of how that money gets spent, and then that we end up doing things that none of us voted on or voted for? I have a concern about that, because I've heard talk about getting that grant money. I'm not a fan of government anyway, so. Vernon, if you want.
Yeah, I appreciate that question. If you drive through 155th Street right down in Baser, you're going to see that street has been torn up. That street's been torn up because I applied for a $7.9 million grant, got the grant, and now we're working on getting 155th Street done. The following year, I applied for a $5.3 million grant to do some of the sidewalks that you're seeing being done in Baser. My belief in going after that money is this. That's federal tax dollars. That's money that I paid out already. And that's money, since I paid it out, I'd have to be not in my right mind to say, hey, I'm going to try to get it back. So I worked on it and I got it back. I'm not always a big fan of what the government does, but I am a big fan of, hey, if you're telling me that I can get this money for this city, then I'm going to do it.
I'm just talking about the strings.
Please.
attached.
Okay, the only strings that I know are attached is this. The money has to be spent on the specific project. It cannot be spent on something else. Now, I got questions about that. People say, well, can't we spend the money on something else? And, I kind of got like a bulldog and stood up and said, no, this money has to be spent on this. If you want something else to be done, and you want to look at how our tax dollars are being spent, are given to somebody else, then go ahead and apply for a grant to get that. But no, we're going to do what we're supposed to do. That's fix 155th Street, that's fix parallel, and that's fix 158th Street. And that's exactly what 100% of those dollars are going for.
Thank you. David?
Well, first of all, you are correct with your statement about strings being attached. I do know of a situation that a grant money was given to Bonner Springs, and it said they were going to beautify this area, and here's all the money to beautify, and it was in the state right away. And the string that was attached in there is if you take the money, then you're going to have to maintain it for the rest of your life. And that's creating an overhead for it. So the state didn't have the responsibility of doing that, and now the city did. So anyway, I'd like to also tell you that I'd like to thank Willie, because, oh, Willie.
That happens more than you can imagine.
Vernon. Yes. Fortunately, I appointed Vernon to that position up there, and he did an absolute excellent job. Thank you, Vernon, for doing that. So anyway, but grant money is something that that you and I paid, and here's the problem with it. If we are awarded that grant money, and we don't take that grant money, it goes somewhere else. They're going to spend that grant money. You paid that grant money in, and if we need to use it, if we got an opportunity and to qualify for it, and it's in our community, then we need to take that money. But a lot of times the strings are attached is that he got $7.5 million. The project's what, 13? So the citizens have to come up with the rest of the money to pay for that. Willie.
There's always strings attached for dollars when the federal government issues them out to you, and there's no payback in actual dollars. There's always going to be that. However, I do agree with one thing that Mr. Fields says is that yes, we did pay those dollars in, and yes, we should be trying to get those dollars back. There's no reason why we shouldn't. Although it takes more than just one person to get that done, from my understanding. There are several individuals within the Baser Commission that were responsible for getting those dollars back, and I got to commend them for putting themselves to work in making that happen. If anyone here believes that you can get free dollars, anything free, I got a problem with. Nothing's free, absolutely nothing. The only thing is free is fresh air, and now you got to pay for that because you got to pay taxes in order to get out to where there is no pollution. You got to pay more taxes for every single thing that there is. You got to pay taxes for buying a car. Well, that's okay. If you can afford to buy that car, then you can afford to pay the taxes. But how can individuals pay on something that they own for all of their life, like their homes, their land, their car? Every single thing that we have today, we have to pay more taxes. And why? If we would just increase, now a lot of people may not like what I'm going to tell you. You may not like this. If we increase the sales tax 1.5%, do you know how much money it would save us? Anyone have any idea? These are the actual figures. You would actually be able to decrease your property taxes by like 80%. Yes, ma'am. Almost 80%.
Gentlemen, thank you. This finishes this round. It's, you wait, please. Appreciate it.
I thought we had closing statements.
Okay, our next round will be for treasurer. Will Caleb Gordon and Stacy Driscoll come up and take seats? Good evening. Thank you for coming up for this next round. Number one question for County Treasurer. Why are you qualified? Thank you. Gosh, I'm really blowing it this evening. First, your 2-minute round. Keep wanting to move forward. Go ahead, please. Stacy, would you start us with?
Okay. I'm Stacy Driscoll, and I'm running for Leavenworth County Treasurer. I'm a lifelong resident of Leavenworth County. I've been married to my husband for 38 years. I have a daughter, a son-in-law, and 2 grandchildren. I served as the Register of Deeds for Leavenworth County for 20 years, and prior to that, I worked in the abstract and title industry, and I'm currently a licensed real estate agent. I have devoted my adult life to serving the public in both my career and my personal life. When Janice Van Paris retired in December of 2023, Caleb Gordon received a temporary appointment to fill the unexpired term for the county treasurer for the precinct committee from the precinct committee men and women, and started on January 2nd, 2024. I worked for Caleb Gordon for 3.5 months and saw firsthand his management style and disrespect to some of the employees in the office. Since that time, Gordon has claimed he is physically responsible and cares about our tax dollars. Additionally, in earlier political videos, he claims to have saved the county $100,000. During his first month, he gave approximately $40,000 in salary increases to 5 employees and was reimbursed $785 for mileage for the first quarter, when we have county vehicles that he could use to drive. When Gordon heard that I may be running in opposition to him, my position was eliminated for the stated reason that he is going to hire 2 positions on the motor vehicle side and has temporarily eliminated driver's license renewals at the annex, a very important service provided to the southern portion of Leavenworth County, as well as a revenue producer for the treasurer. Will he close the annex next? And knowing that Mr. Gordon is, I only ask this because I recently obtained through an open records request a copy of the June budget report for the motor vehicle budget. Gordon is at a minimum negative $15,000 in the hole.
Thank you.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Caleb Gordon. I'm the current county treasurer. I grew up in North Missouri in a small rural district. My wife, my beautiful wife, 6 children, and I have lived in Lansing for about 6 years. My wife is a lifelong Kansas resident. Prior to becoming the treasurer, I was the office administrator for one of the largest truck restoration companies in the region. A lot of what I did there, which was accounting and employee management and customer service, has seamlessly transferred over to what I'm doing now. So the treasurer's job is heavily accounting. For instance, several dates throughout the year are promulgated statutorily that the treasurer personally has to distribute tax funds to all the county entities. So for instance, in January, about $50 million has to be distributed to 28 entities. Within those entities, that is further broken down into different funds. This is a very complicated, tedious, and time-consuming endeavor, and I absolutely love it. It fits my personality and it fits my skills. I'm also fiscally conservative. I believe in running the office at the smallest financial impact to the county. Our office has a history of excessive spending, and I've reined that in, and as time goes forward, I will continue to analyze what it actually takes to run the treasurer's office and stay at that level. I also want to modernize, streamline some things. I want to bring us into the 21st century with things such as ACH payments for distributions. I am fiscally conservative. I've been a lifetime conservative. I'm pro-life. I'm pro-Second Amendment, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you. First question is, why are you qualified to run the office that handles all county money? Stacy?
I've got 20 years of government experience. I know the budget process, and I understand it. I understand the real estate records. I've assisted in the tax sales, and I've done closings in the title industry.
Thank you. Caleb?
I'd say, first of all, I've successfully run the office for 6 months. When I came into my office, it was empty. With the exception of a few old files, there was nothing there. I started from ground zero. In 6 short months, I have created the Leavenworth County Treasurer Distribution Manual. It is a step-by-step process through a myriad of steps that you have to take from the beginning of the balance to what you have to report to the state. And that will be on my desk in perpetuity for any future treasurers, and I did that on my own.
All right, thank you. Second question. Is the 5-year-old theft of money from the treasurer's office resolved, or is it being resurrected for other reasons? Gordon?
The statute of limitations is 5 years from the time of discovery. That means that was discovered around Christmas of 2019, so the statute of limitations is up in December of this year. Because of the election and the busyness of the election, I don't know if we'll make it, but I am working with the most qualified accountant in the state of Kansas on seeing what we can possibly do about that.
Thank you. Stacy?
I didn't work in the office when that occurred, but I know that it was reported and it was investigated by law enforcement and other law enforcement agencies. And, you know, when that occurred, it takes it out of the hands of the treasurer. It's all under law enforcement. So.
Okay. Okay, my third question. How can the treasurer's office help small business in our community? Kayla, would you start?
Well, there's only so much the treasurer's office can do. We're pretty confined to statutory regulations. We're statutorily required to operate the motor vehicle on behalf of the state, and we kind of act as a bank for the county. We don't have any way to set policy. We just operate under the statute set forth by the state of Kansas. So we're very limited in what we're able to do outside of those statutes. We're not legislators, we're not policy setters. So other than being fiscally conservative and not wasting taxpayer money to where that money can be utilized in other areas of the county rather than wasted in our department, I think that's the biggest help that we can provide.
Thank you. Stacy?
Well, we can always be there, you know, for the public, you know, for the small businesses, for when they have questions and concerns, and, you know, to be able to have the knowledge to be able to help them and you know, understand what they need to do. So it's, you know, a lot of that is, you know, being knowledgeable, how they can help them and answer their questions.
Okay, thank you. Take the audience questions. Let me get other people involved, please. Let me get other people involved. Anybody? All right, go ahead.
Stacy Driscoll, if you're the treasurer, what would be your top priority if you see it?
Okay, go ahead.
My top priority would be to get the motor vehicle account that is operating in the negative at this point. You know, we can always, you know, do better. Everybody can always do better on customer service. You know, and there are other things that, you know, could do, you know, that we could do to help the services in the office. But again, it all costs money, and, you know, money's tight now, so.
Thank you. Caleb?
I'm going to go ahead and use this opportunity to clarify what she's talking about. So what we have is a motor vehicle fund. It's a very unique fund, only to the treasurers in the county. It's an unbudgeted fund, and it's used to operate the motor vehicle department within the county. Whatever money is left over out of that at the end of each year is to be transferred to the general fund in July of the following year. On July 1st, we transferred $64,000 from the previous year that was left over to the general fund. Well, that brought the balance very, very low. But as we move forward this year, we will recoup that and end up with a further overage at the end of the year that will get transferred to the general fund next year. Because the county's money is in a single account, it does not matter if that drops below zero, because that money will be made up by the motor vehicle fund and will actually make money for the county. So what she said is actually incorrect.
Any other questions? Thank you. Oh, over here, yes.
Mr. Driscoll, you spent the first amount of time during your introduction just trashing your opponent. If you've been in government service over 20 years up to this point, have you accomplished anything that you can speak about in that amount of time?
Did you hear the question?
Yes. So when I was the Register of Deeds, I put into place Property Fraud Alert, which is an alert system to the public when documents get recorded. I was one of the first 5 counties in Kansas to bring e-recording to the office. And I've got my list here. And also implemented an online search inquiry where the public could search the records for a fee, and also offered online subscriptions to the title companies and other entities that utilize the office to search the records, and also did continuously did back indexing of the old records.
Hope you want to comment?
I'd like to go ahead and take this opportunity to clarify something. The county, our office is in a really unique position right now. It's very unusual, but we actually have 2 of our staff that at the exact same time are going to be gone for the exact same period of time. That is concurrent with one of our busiest seasons of the year, and is also concurrent when our other staff members are taking their vacations. The driver's license service in Tonganoxie is a service that we provide. That is normally done by the state, but as a service to the Southern County, we provide driver's license renewals. In 2023, that generated $17,000. That does not even cover the benefits of a single employee. So revenue is not an issue. The issue is we're going to be severely understaffed for a short period of time. And during that very short period of time, we're going to eliminate that service so that we are able to accomplish what we're required to do statutorily. We will be resuming the driver's licenses in October at the latest. It's very possible it will be in September. We won't know until we know. We're not cutting any services.
Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I would ask why the on the ticket, because you ran as a Democrat for many, many years, if I'm correct, if I'm wrong. So why now flip to a Republican? If you could have just stayed on a Democratic ticket to run against him.
As I've stated before.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed it.
Oh, huh?
I said, I'm sorry, I missed it. You said something earlier.
No, I was just saying that my whole family changed to Republican, and over the years my beliefs have changed and they align more with the Republican Party.
Caleb, do you want to comment at all?
Well, I've been a conservative my entire life. I'm a Rush Limbaugh baby. I grew up listening to Rush Limbaugh. I am pro-life. I'm pro-Second Amendment. I'm pro-law enforcement. I am pro-everything that makes us conservative, and I can tell you exactly why I am a conservative and will always be a conservative.
One more question. Yes, sir.
Caleb, you said working with the best accountant in the state of Kansas. Who might that be?
That would be Mr. Scott Lloyd. I could send you his bio if you would like. He has been involved with audits of the Department of Defense, Department of Homeland Security. He is absolutely, if you read his bio, it's mind-boggling.
Stacy, you want to comment?
What's that?
Do you want to comment about the?
Well,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, it's so short. We'll take one more. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about the fees that have changed up at the courthouse. Under Janice Van Perry, I believe that when you walked in to make a transaction, like buy your tags, whatever, there was a $1 fee, and then it changed to $5. Where does that money, what's that money being used for? And is that money accounted for? I've heard rumors, so I wanted to bring it out to light. Like, why did it change, and where is that money going? Where is it?
Thank you.
I can answer
Stacy.
that. So that $5 fee is, it goes into a fund and it's used to help pay personnel under the motor vehicle fund.
And I meant to ask too, is all that money accounted for?
Well, it goes into a fund, and so yeah, I mean, there's reports where, but it's only used on the motor vehicle side and can only be used for, the operation of the motor vehicle fund.
And why did it go up?
What? Caleb?
Would you like me to answer?
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
So that fee is statutorily set by the legislature, and they allow the treasurers to set that fee with a maximum of $5. It was $1 forever. The previous treasurer didn't know she could raise it. She found out she could raise it to a maximum of $5, and she raised it straight from $1 to a maximum of $5. After that, so that fee goes into that special motor vehicle fund that is used to, it is only used to fund the motor vehicle office. It's not to be used for anything else. Any excess money at the end of the year in January or July 1st of the following year goes into the general fund of the county. Now, when we look back over the last 8 or so years, we see one year where $100,000 was transferred, we see one year where $19,000 were transferred, and we see a whole bunch of years where $0 was transferred. We have no idea where that money went.
All right, thank you very much. Please express your appreciation for these two candidates. Okay, if we could have TerriLois and Jeff Conklin come up. So these two candidates are running for the Register of Deeds in the primary election. My first question, that's the second time I've done that. Please, would you start?
Hello. This is my first foray into local politics, and I haven't done much public speaking since college, so bear with me. It should be fun. My name is Jeff Conklin, and I am obviously running for the position of the Leavenworth County Register of Deeds. I live in Lansing with my wife and 2 kids, 8-year-old boy who thinks he's 25 and a 4-year-old girl who thinks she's 15, so that's a lot of fun right now. But I sit here before you with a clear vision and a steadfast commitment to serve our community with integrity, transparency, and efficiency. The Register of Deeds office plays a crucial role in maintaining and safeguarding the public land records, and my candidacy is built on experience and a community focus. I have 6 years of experience in the title industry and a deep understanding of the complexities and responsibilities associated with the Register of Deeds office. My track record demonstrates my capability to manage records accurately and securely, ensuring that our community's property rights are protected. Next, a community focus is at the heart of my campaign. I believe in open communication, transparency, and accountability, and I will ensure that our office is responsive to the needs of the citizens, providing clear information and assistance when needed. I'm dedicated to fostering a collaborative environment where everyone feels heard and respected. In closing, I ask for your vote in the upcoming primary so that together we can make the Register of Deeds office a model of excellence for Leavenworth County. Your support will enable us to build a future where our public records are managed with the utmost care and community's needs are always prioritized. Thanks.
Thank you. TerriLois.
I'm TerriLois Mashburn. I chose to move here after visiting, if anybody remembers Representative Jana Goodman, I came to visit Leavenworth with her when I was in the Kansas House of Representatives, and I was so impressed with this town, I wanted to live here. I'm a woman of action. When I look at government, the government is not in the courthouse. The government's sitting right out here. You are the government. And when I was unhappy with the government, I decided to do something about it. I ran in 2020, and when I won, the 2 things that I did not agree with, I changed. I went my 3rd day in office and asked for my salary to be cut $5,000, almost $5,000, which was granted. And I was quoted in the paper as saying, hey, I'm Register of Deeds now, I can do something about it, so please cut my salary. And I couldn't believe that we were still on microfilm. So we are now completely off of microfilm. I've had just about every single title company thank me for getting us into the 21st century. They don't hardly have to come into my office to do research anymore. And I have lots of plans for the next 4 years. One of them is to help keep fraudulent documents from being recorded. We have back-indexed about 400 books at this point. We brought 485,000 images to digital review, And every one of those has to be read, and specific information is put into searchable fields. And we are so much further down the road than I thought we would be at this point. So I'm looking forward to your questions.
Thank you. First question is, why is the Register of Deeds an elected office, and does politics play any part in its operations? TerriLois, would you take?
Except for this part of the process, not really. When you walk in the office, I don't ask what your party is. I ask, how can I help you? And I think that there's lots of Democrats, lots of independents, and lots of unregistered people who will say, I work just as hard for them as I did for every Republican. The office is, I'm not queen, I'm a servant. I'm a public servant. And that's how I view my position. If you have a problem, I'm the bridge between you and government. Lots and lots of compliments have come into our office that, wow, you guys don't act like a government office because you actually helped us. We go over and above. We don't walk past a problem. When we see a problem, we stop and we try to fix it, whether it's in the back index or whether it's in the land records. Sometimes we've had to go back 100 years to find the correct legal descriptions. But my goal has been to make it easier for title companies and banks and mortgage lenders to do their job. If we make the records available, then their job is easier.
Please, Jeff.
As TerriLois said, yeah, so being new to all this, I asked because I was unsure, why is the ROD elected? I mean, it's a public office. And I've heard from a couple people that at one point the commissioners made an elected position so that otherwise, I guess, it would be appointed by the commissioners. So to prevent favoritism and all that, they decided to make it an elected position. In terms of government, I mean, it's as she said, it's a public office. Everybody goes in there to research land records. Leavenworth County, we've got a lot of people here with old farms and whatnot. So if family farms that you've had for hundreds of years, so you want to check that out, you go in there and you look, and there's not or shouldn't be any kind of oversight in terms of government procedure in the office.
Okay. Thank you both. My next question is, the Chamber of Commerce is obviously interested in the economic development for our company, for our businesses throughout the county. So how does the Register of Deeds office help businesses? Jeff?
So I'm working a title company right now. So my background is on the searching and what would be all the books in the Register of Deeds office. In terms of budgeting and what, that would all be new to me. It would all be administrative, which I could learn. But yeah, I mean, it's.
Okay. Thank you. TerriLois.
Register of Deeds office is very important to the economy, because if the Register of Deeds office can't operate, then you're not going to have real estate transactions, you're not going to have financial UCC filings, several different things. It's kind of an unknown factor, but very important. One of the first things that I made a priority was to move our county records off of the county server and protect them on an off-site, fully staffed data site facility that is under Bastion. And if you remember the attack that was on Wyandotte County, the city and, the county and city governments combined shut down with the exception of one office. And that was the Register of Deeds, because she had done what I did initially. She did it just like a month before they were hit. And she continued to operate. It's very important for those records to be protected and the office to remain open. I do a lot of education. I've gone out and probably done, 250 presentations on why you should have a transfer on death deed on file, why you should have your property protected under property fraud alert. 3 years in a row, my office has been recognized for the highest number of new subscriptions in 21, 22, and 23. And in 23, Leavenworth County by itself was responsible for 1/3 of all the new subscriptions in Kansas. And that didn't happen by accident. Now then, people are telling people about it. It's exciting to me to see that the education efforts have been successful. And so, yeah, you may not know it, but the Register of Deeds office is extremely important in the economic development of Leavenworth.
Thank you. Questions, please. Yes, ma'am.
So I understand that the Register of Deeds office has a lot of like historical records that they are in charge of. How is that accomplished, and are all the current records, historical records, accounted for?
Did you hear the question? Go ahead, Jeff.
So yeah, from my standpoint, yes, the hard documents, deeds and whatnot will get sent back to you. Mortgages are filed, you've got those with the bank and everything. But yeah, so the office has the microfilms, which has all the images on them. There's a online program that you need a subscription to use, which we use in the office. The public has access to it in the ROD office itself. But from my understanding, any of the hard documents would be in the archives. There are some books upstairs that have the images in them. But everything is on the microfilm or in the old indexes where if you were to go research your house or whatever, you could flip back through those. That was all hand logged. And then you could figure out the book and page or doc number, reference it with the microfilm to view the image on there. In terms of how in-depth the books are upstairs, that's fairly locked up. Not locked up, but we can view them. But yeah, typically you'd go through the microfilm and everything first.
You used to go through microfilm. Now it's all digital. But originally, all the records were written in books, deed books, mortgage books, and then the activity was structured under index books. So if you understand section, township, range, the county's cut up into a grid, and as you get down smaller and smaller, we would notate all of the activity in a quarter, each quarter section. And you would go to that index to find the book that you wanted to go to for the deed. So unfortunately, Book A, our most valuable historic-wise book, is missing. I discovered it was missing about my second or third week in office. I immediately called every historical society. I called the library. I called any agency that I thought might have a reason to have that book on display. And I also went to the sheriff after my attempts failed and said, would you please investigate this? So unfortunately, Book A is lost somewhere, but the rest of the entire collection is upstairs in the vault in my office. And we do have the microfilm backup, but then every single document back to sovereignty is now digitized, and it will be searchable. We are back to about 1960, 1958 for the searchability, and eventually you'll be able to go back to the mid-1850s for every single document that has been through the office.
Yes, sir.
Jeff, I haven't seen you around. Don't know where you came from. Dropped in out of the sky. Why are you primarying someone who's been doing a good job?
So I've done title work for 6 years. The ROD is kind of the next logical career step. I live in Leavenworth. I don't, like you, I'm not a huge government fan. I don't think it should be involved in much. But as I said, it's the next logical career move to provide for my family. And probably shouldn't say it, but why the ROD position, it's not a big governmental thing. It's its own entity for recording your deeds and your mortgages, and that's that. So that's why I choose not to get involved with all that other hullabaloo.
So,
That's the reason why you're running primary, TerriLois?
and I think
To
it's
further my career, yeah.
I think it's a valid reason. I've always lived by a saying that competition doesn't destroy me. Competition makes me stronger. When I was in the House of Representatives, there was a representative from Lawrence, and I represented Lawrence. If I knew she was going to be at a meeting, you better believe I prepped 3 times as hard for that meeting as I did for any other meeting. I actually compliment Jeff for running because it's our government, and if I've done a bad job, you need to take me out. I've worked as hard as I can work. So if you want to take me out, okay, God bless you, I'll get some sleep. I've worked thousands of hours overtime. And anybody who goes past that courthouse will say, I saw your car parked there. Well, that's okay. He has a young family, I don't. And I choose to give back to my community my extra time that I'm not giving to grandkids. So I don't belittle him for going against me. I think it's going to show my strengths. I actually was kind of glad because I thought I wasn't going to be able to talk in any debates without somebody to run against me. So he got me some mic time here.
Any other questions?
Yes, right here. My name is Chris Williams, and I have a question for both of you guys. I'm big on leadership, and when you have customers come into your office, a disgruntled customer, how would your team handle that, regardless, since we mentioned political affiliation here, regardless of political affiliation?
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. That did happen one time. Somebody came in, full throttle voice. Y'all don't do anything in here. And I turned around and looked at the bullpen, and here's all 3 of my staff, fingers on the keyboard, typing away, working. And she proceeded to, with a volcanic flare, tell us everything that was wrong. And I just let her go. Because one thing that I've learned is, if you want to represent the government, you're the face. They're mad at the government. The government screwed me. The government didn't give me what I wanted. And you're the government. And I don't have anybody to yell at but you. And they just need to vent. Sometimes your job is just listen. And she went on for, 10, 15 minutes. And if you listen to someone, when they hit that tipping point, then there's a change in the pitch of their voice. And that's the moment that you can step in. And I said, I'm really glad you shared that with me, but I think there's some facts that maybe you don't know. Would you mind coming into my office? I'd like to show you something. I had created a vision book, and it was my presentation to the Board of County Commissioners right off the bat. Here's where I'm going to take the Register of Deeds office. And I showed her that, and then I explained this. I said, there's something else I'd like to show you. It's back in the vault. Can I show you that? Look, here's how we search the records. They're in microfilm right now, but we're moving to where this is all digital. You can get off of that. We don't have to do microfilm at all. It's easier. Then I took her back up front. She's smiling. She's relaxed. She goes, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have yelled at you like I did. I think you're doing a great job. And she left. That's how you have to listen to people. I don't listen to the party that somebody represents. I listen to the person. And when they come into our office, they maybe have a divorce. They may have lost, due to sheriff's sale. You never know their heartache. It's our job to not only know the job, but we need to have compassion too.
Thank you, Jeff.
So I agree with that somewhat. That office, if someone comes in with an issue, and first off, as I'm sure you saw, nobody knows what the heck the ROD is. Nobody knows what title work is. I tell people I do title work, they think car. No, houses. So the ROD, it's for your land stuff. So if you've got an issue, I would hope that it's, something with my house is screwed up or my neighbor's arguing with me, what have you. So yeah, come in, listen to your issues, break it down. I have helped people in her office being up there with the programs we use, the books, because they are weird. You walk in there and you're unfamiliar with it, you don't know what the heck you're looking at. So I say, okay, you know, where's your house? Let's figure that out first so that we can get the right legal description, figure out what your issue is, and then kind of go from there. So it's a back and forth of figuring out what the issue is and then just relaying how can we resolve what's going on. And, you know, if everybody in the office, you know, can read everything and know how to interpret it, because it's a weird gig, it's a weird kind of niche thing, but once you understand it, it's pretty easy to resolve most kind of property disputes and things like that.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, thank you both very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, and our final round is for the county sheriff, and we have Kent Leintz and Andy Dedeke. Please come up. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here this evening and for your patience waiting this long to get started. So, Andy, would you please start with your introduction?
Good evening. My name is Sheriff Andy Dedeke. I'm the incumbent Republican candidate standing for re-election. I'm a native of Leavenworth County and have chosen a life of service to her many residents. I am a husband, father, and grandfather. I'm an active member of Risen Savior Lutheran Church in Basel, the National Rifle Association, the National Sheriff's Association, the Kansas Sheriff's Association, where I sit on the board of directors, and Kansans for Life, who have endorsed me in this race. I began my career with the Leavenworth County Sheriff's Office in 1992. And since that time, I've gathered the technical and institutional knowledge required to run a modern sheriff's office. I've been consistent and deliberate in my administration of the office and every assignment preceding my initial election. I've demonstrated my ability and my proficiency in executing the duties as sheriff of Leavenworth County. I'm the only candidate with the relevant and specific experience required to execute the duties of this office. I'm seeking re-election, not because this position is easy. It is not. Often the pressure and responsibilities can feel crushing. I'm seeking re-election because I believe in the office of sheriff and its proper administration. I believe in the principle of law enforcement and the necessity to protect our Constitution as is written. I believe the individual who holds this office shall be fair, honest, sincere, and possess integrity. Despite angry fodder from my opponents stating the contrary, these characteristics are a part of who I am. The sheriff shall be a peace officer. I've worked tirelessly to promote professional relationships, and I offer a level of transparency not previously seen in this office. My skills and knowledge have increased proportionately with my responsibilities. I have demonstrated my dedication to Leavenworth County, the profession, in this office. I'm honored to serve Leavenworth County as your sheriff and welcome the opportunity to address any questions or concerns you may have.
Thank you. Kent.
Hello.
Please.
Hello, my name is Kent Leintz. I've been in Leavenworth all my life. I have about 13 years of law enforcement experience. I have extensive business experience and been a small business owner for over 35 years. I believe that experience is what sets me apart. I stand before you today as not as a career politician, but someone deeply committed to progressive change within the sheriff's office. I believe the community deserves that leadership that prioritizes growth that matches the county growth. My family is here. I am married. I have adult children. I am a Catholic. My brothers have a construction business here. That is where a lot of my management style comes from. This race is not personal. The Dedeke family as a child was very good to me. We have very different ideas of management style and what we think is important. I think that's a huge difference. That agency is beloved by the employees. I want to allow them to work there. They're not only leaving because of pay. They don't come to work there because of the pay. I simply want to improve the working environment. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. My first question then, you bring up people issues. So there's accusations of some mismanagement, personnel issues, particularly of nepotism in the sheriff's office. So are there issues, and what will we be doing going forward to improve personnel management? Andy, would you please start?
I guess the matter of is it an issue or not is a matter of perspective. I think that point is the very unkept secret that my wife works at the sheriff's office. My wife came to work at the sheriff's office in 1994 before I knew who she was, before I knew I'd ever ask her out, before I ever knew I was going to marry her. And when I decided that that was the path I wanted to start, I okayed it with my sergeants, my lieutenants, the captain at the time, and ultimately the sheriff. So the fact that there was a relationship that budded from this office, it is not a secret. The fact that when I ran for sheriff in 2012, the first time, I did not keep that a secret. I made it known that she would be a part of the administration yet in the role that the previous sheriff had put her in, and that's where she has been. The sheriff's office has many family relationships. It always has over the last 32 years. There have been siblings that work there, mothers and sons, fathers and daughters, aunts, uncles, cousins, siblings. To me, that is relevant because what that says is, hey, this is a great place to work. I love you, you're my relative, come to work here. And I think it speaks volumes that, you know, if a place of employment can be recommended by a relative and they come to work, that's great. Typically, it's somebody who has produced well, who has been a good employee. And so if we can double down and get that twice, why would we not?
Vicky. Kent.
The issue that I have with the nepotism is the level. The nepotism within the agency, I believe that the agency is large enough to tolerate some family members working together, but when it is the top person and the spouse, that is the issue I have, in that I think it creates an unfair working environment for the rest of the staff. I don't think that the promotional processes are fair. I don't think anything is fair, and that is untrue. She is not in the same position that she was put in by a previous sheriff. Thank you.
What is the county's most significant current criminal activity, and how will you address it? Kent, would you go first?
Well, I think the most significant activity that is the most harmful is the drug problem in the county. I would address it by starting a drug unit that I think it's difficult to get off the ground. I mean, it takes time, it takes the right people, and probably currently there's one of the right people currently working at the office. Not that it can't be done, but it's not like you're going to wheel in their first day and assign these people to go work drugs. I mean, they have to come up with confidential informants. That's normally how they go about getting warrants. It takes a lot. So ever giving that up is like taking a step back by a couple of years.
I would agree that drugs manifest themselves in multiple ways in the county. You know, most of the property crimes are related or directly connected to drug activity. Just the usage of drugs alone, the selling, the possessing, obviously is criminal in nature. So what have we done about it? We have been successful over the years by doing drug investigations. We had a dedicated drug unit that many people had come through as investigators. I myself was a drug investigator for several years ago. So I understand, and it is difficult to find the right person for that. You can't just hire somebody and stick them in. Typically, that experience is derived from years of patrol experience, from interactions that you learn as perhaps a jail officer, perhaps as something as innocuous as serving papers. You meet people, you understand people. So yeah, it's not just as easy to just hire somebody and stick them in that unit. The goal is absolutely, we want to have a thriving drug unit to address this issue. Absent that, what are we doing? We've obtained a grant. where we can address narcotic use by the people who are involved in the justice system. In our jails, we have liaisons who work with them to identify what their issues are. Is it drugs? Is it alcohol? Is it something else? And then through having relationships developed with locally the guidance center who bring in professionals, mental health, drug abuse counselors, that type of thing. It's another way that we can address this issue of drugs in the community.
Thank you. Ken? Ken?
I did.
I understand there's a shortage of qualified personnel. So what will you do going forward to make it a better policing force? Andy, would you start?
Okay. Well, and this remains the million-dollar question because I think agencies all across this great nation are struggling with that. A lot of papers have been written on how do you address that. And what we see this as a cycle. You have a national event, something like the George Floyd. That affects recruitment, that affects longevity, that affects public perception, and that affects a lot of things having to do with law enforcement. We have seen people who have been in a trajectory to come to work in law enforcement switch from that field when something like this happens because of public perception. What can we do? What can we control? Obviously, we can make it a good environment, and we have a good environment. We have good employees. We have happy employees. We have opportunity for them to come and develop, to learn skills. And one thing I never want to do is beholden somebody from having the opportunity to go and improve themselves. And if that improvement comes at a different agency, then we will miss them. That investment is lost. But we don't want to deprive them from that opportunity. We want an environment where people are happy to come to work. We have that. The other thing is pay, and that's something you cannot avoid. A position that starts in the jail is $20.35 an hour. They can come down to Lansing Correctional Facility for $26 plus and start. Douglas County pays $27 an hour. So there is a significant difference in pay, and we can kick it down the road. The Board of County Commissioners has worked with me over the last 12 years, but we're still nowhere close where we need to be, which I think illustrates how bad we were 12 years ago.
Thank you. Ken?
I agree that pay is a portion of this. I don't in any way believe that it's all of this. Nobody goes into law enforcement work because they think that they're going to get rich or because they want to sit in an office and type forever or any of those things. I think there are a lot of things that can make it a more desirable place to work as far as retaining people, bringing people. I have a solid commitment from 8 previous employees that are ready to go to work there, and likely a few more. I mean, some of that, these people are coming around with me, so that seems obvious to me. I do agree the pay thing needs to be better, especially the starting pay. I was receiving a message today from a previous employee who I don't know that was talking about the pay and thought that they might reapply there if the administration changed. And I welcome them to do that. I mean, it's a real win for the county when they can bring somebody to work there that's worked there before. You can put them through a couple weeks of refresher and they're ready to hit the road and go. Thank you.
What are your questions? Yes, ma'am.
So at previous meeting, you said you had 25 people, and now it's...
I never said 25.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Yes.
Okay, I did.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Question,
now
please.
you said there's 8.
No, I've always said 8 to 10.
My question is, excuse me, my question is, if you have that many in the pipeline, what would be your intention to fire the employees?
Well, certainly not.
And would you also hire people who've been fired for insubordination?
Well, it depends on if they were fired out of retaliation, yes, I would rehire them. But no, if it was some sort of insubordination that I agreed with, then no. I mean, if that were the case, why were they not charged? I mean, there have been cases where a deputy has committed theft, they're fired for that, they're never prosecuted because nobody wants that to come to light that that's going on.
Thank you.
It happens that way.
That's covered up?
They go in, they get fired, sometimes an investigation never happens, they terminate. So that doesn't make sense to me.
That you would prosecute somebody for committing a crime when you're a law enforcement company?
We're talking about insubordination.
Okay, please let them answer. Any more?
It depends on what the insubordination is. If it's retaliation like political retaliation, then yes, I would rehire them. I mean, what is the violation that they committed? I mean, you need to be more specific. I'm sorry?
That was my question.
It depends on what it is.
Andy, you want to comment?
I would just say that in the event that comes to pass, I would encourage you to review the personnel files of several of the people that I assume have contacted you about coming back. And I would encourage you to do that to avoid a negligent hiring situation. Regarding any employee that's committed theft, obviously there's an administrative action and there's a criminal action. All criminal actions are investigated and submitted to the county attorney for consideration on whether or not they want to prosecute. Obviously, that's out of my hands at that point. Further, during my career as sheriff, there has never been a political retaliation, termination. The individual which you speak was warned on several occasions for behavior that was not conducive to the workplace, for many other things. I worked with that individual time and time and time again. And at some point, you have to make a decision to cut an employee loose, which anybody who works in my administration, especially in the administration piece of it, knows how difficult it is to come to the decision to terminate somebody's employment. And this individual in particular, I was very aware of his home life, the fact that he had children, the fact that he worked hard, and he is a good employee to the point of he had good skill set. But he pushed it, and the timing couldn't have been any worse. I agree with that because appearances, people buy off on that and they think, okay, it's got to be retaliation. I remind them, I changed the policy that allowed our employees to go out and campaign for the candidate of their choice.
Next question. Yes, sir.
I was wondering what if you guys have a plan to handle the illegals that are coming into our country, and how would you go about handling a major catastrophe, if you would, that would happen here at Leavenworth County? How would you go about handling it?
Make sure that everybody hear the question. He was asking about how to handle illegal immigrants as well as a disaster.
A major problem that the illegal calls that came into Leavenworth County, and how would you go about handling it?
Kent, would you start, please?
I've spoken many times about how important I think it is for the sheriff's office not to be a standalone agency and train with these other outside agencies, like the Leavenworth Police Department trains with Kansas City, Kansas SWAT. They go on missions together. So you can put together a bigger group of law enforcement officers that have trained together. They're used to working together. They can quickly be assembled to combat whatever incident is being presented.
Andy.
So the sheriff's office trains with other departments all the time. Our goal has been to become a hub of training. During COVID, we saw training in this profession get turned upside down. It went away. It went away for 2.5 years and became very difficult to find. On top of that, when training did start returning, what used to be a $250 fee became a $500 fee for the same training for no other reason other than it was now available. So we made the conscious decision to become a hub. Instead of sending 1 or 2 people to a training site, we invite the training company to come to our office. And we typically get at least 2 or 3 free seats in that class. And we extend invitations to our local agencies, to our agencies in surrounding counties, and across the border. We have extended multiple opportunities to train. We cannot make somebody or make an agency come to our training. We cannot make an agency train with us. The desire is absolutely, we want to be able to do that. Now, as far as the illegals, that's a problem that was generated by the current president day one he was in office. And that's where the solution is going to be found. We need to secure that border. We don't need to bring illegal aliens into a holding facility here. We need to keep them away. I think Leavenworth County, by and large, has relatively escaped a lot of the problems that our surrounding areas have experienced, largely because the surrounding areas have more opportunity for them, for work and employment. But the problem starts with securing the border, or the solution starts with securing the border.
Thank you. Next question. Yes. Yes, sir.
I don't know, I didn't hear the gentleman's question in full, but one of the concerns that I have, individuals have spoken about, is that what is your stance with illegals being housed in Leavenworth County? Are you for or against that? And if you are for it, then could you expand upon it? Is it because there are dollars that are coming with that? Or is it because that you feel that they should be here because of the safety of our citizens?
Andy, would you start, please?
Okay. I'm 110% against housing them in any local facility. The benefits that you receive from money, from either the government paying it, the jobs that it creates, I don't think are going to be outweighed by the problems that come with having that population here. Not only those who are in custody, but family and loved ones who come and decide to live here, to be close to them. And there's no guarantee that the government can say that they won't be released back into the community here. I don't believe our government. I don't trust our government at that level. I believe that, again, the solution is to secure that border. And this is a problem generated by the federal government. It needs to be a problem that's addressed by the federal government appropriately.
Ken?
I mean, I completely agree. I don't think that they ought to be here, even if they can guarantee that they'll never be released here. The families that travel with no obvious means of support, no one in the community, I think is a huge burden to the taxpayers. And I think you can see that in some of the sanctuary cities, the devastation that it's caused to these cities. So no, there would be no way I would be in support of that, doing that. And I mean, it would take the sheriff's office, I would think, to be able to make that happen. And running the jail in and of itself is a major undertaking. Thank you.
We have time for one more question. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I want to understand the space situation. Okay, so is it the county commissioners that set the budget and the pay for the sheriff and the deputies and all of that? Then I want to know if you're bringing, okay, so you have these guys that quit or whatever, and they're not making enough money. How are you going to hire them back on? And I guess I'm talking to you, Ken. How are you going to hire them back on at a higher pay? Who's going to do that for you? So I'm understanding that the pay's not high enough, but you're going to bring these guys in, and how are you going to, because the pay's going to be better, or I'm not understanding.
Well, it's my understanding,
Please
go first. It's my understanding over basically the last term, the agency has run about 20 positions short. Now, when I say that, that is assuming that they're still in need of help. If the agency's full, then no, there's no jobs there. I would rather do more with less people, more well-qualified people, than just throwing people at a problem that are not as trained. So it's all what's within the budget, but no, I think the commission approves the budget, but I think that the sheriff can decide the staffing.
Andy?
Yeah, just to clarify, the sheriff as the elected official prepares a budget. The budget is presented to the Board of County Commissioners for approval, and then once it's approved, then largely they're out of it. They're out of the checkbook until, and let the elected official run the office with the budget they have. As far as deciding pay and that type of thing, we, again, when I took office, not only was the pay scale of the county, of all employees, in dire need of updating, specifically the pay scale of the sheriff's office was. And so we set about and spent about a year in developing a pay scale which was unique to the sheriff's office, which addressed some of the deficiencies that we have noticed throughout the years with built-in incentives. One of the things I can remember as a young patrolman is sitting car door to car door bitching to each other about not making any money. So we built in opportunities to work to make additional money by obtaining certain certifications, by becoming an instructor, by doing things that are within your control. So those were added into the pay plan, which, by the way, was unanimously approved by the Board of County Commissioner several months before I wanted to do it, because they saw the benefit of doing it. So I prepare the budget, it's approved. I operate within the boundaries of the pay scale, which we created, which was also approved, which at the same time, the HR director for the county of Leavenworth was doing a scale. And we ultimately came, when we presented both pay scales, on average, there's a difference of 3 to 7 cents difference for each position at each step increase. So that tells me we were right on target.
Thank you, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here this evening. Thank you and have a great evening.
All the time. Cheyenne.